This is a multi-donor facility managed by the bank. It was set up to catalyze finance to unlock private investments in renewable energy. By the end of last year, we were at 120 million in total commitments from 7 donors. And we've raised the ambition manifold under the new cycle. We focus primarily on project preparation and enabling environment, so both public and private. The unique features of CEFA and obviously our focus on the frontier of technology, trying to push new business models, trying to push new technologies, which we have a few in our portfolio, wave to energy, biomass, urban cooling systems. We have some pretty exotic projects, but obviously we have solar, wind, hydros. That's the bread and butter of the energy transition, and we've been there and we'll continue doing that. Our focus on first-of-a-kind projects, and last but not least, our priority to fragile or countries in transition. Why do we need to transform? And I think despite all the work that's gone to date in the sector, we've been part of it. African Development Bank has been a big leader and has done a lot over the last 5 years under the New Deal. But the challenge is immense, and there is urgency to keep pushing forwards because we're seeing some worrying trends. One is the population growth in the continent. By 2040, we will have 22 billion people in the continent. This is driving demand for power. As we have more people, we have more industry, we have an affluent middle class, a growing middle class that demands more power, better services. So we need to keep up with that. And the current pace will not get us there. I think the current pace of investments and new capacity, we will not keep up with and will not hit the universal access target that we all ambition by 2030. To illustrate a little bit what we're talking about in our first year of operations, we have recently, I think a few weeks ago, approved our first catalytic investment actually into the first clean cooking ecosystem fund. This is a commercial investment fund to support clean cooking ventures with equity, quasi-equity, and debt instruments. We're very excited about this. This is highly catalytic for the sector. There is a massive gap in terms of finance. We hope that this will contribute a little bit and get more clean cooking ventures moving along the road to commercial sustainability. And we expect that we will deliver approximately 2 million clean cooking solutions to approximately 2 million households through this initiative. As Vice President Kariuki mentioned, we have not dropped the ball when it comes to COVID. We have stepped up our efforts, in fact, and the COVID-19 off-grid recovery platform is one such example. Turned around in record time, less than 6 months from a scratch on paper to a $50 million blended finance initiative where we're partnering with 3 seasoned fund managers to blend with their commercial resources to deliver soft loans for relief and recovery to household solar, mini grids, but also clean cooking and C&I businesses. And we expect this to be quite an exciting effort of CEFA moving forward. Hopefully, and if all rolls out well, we may actually even expand this platform next year. This is another African Renewable Energy Fund is again a CEFA AFDB creation. We are now co-investing in the next generation of RF, which is squarely focused on green baseload solutions. We're talking about hybrid projects linking hydro, solar PV, and battery storage. And we expect that through our participation, 15 million in both equity and TA, we will catalyze more private investors into these funds, which aims or targets a $300 million capitalization and will deliver a pipeline of approximately $2 billion in investments in approximately 800 megawatts of new capacity. And the Desert to Power Technical Assistance Program, both geared to address regional bottlenecks upstream for the deployment in the case of mini-grids, mini-grid investments, and in the case of G5 countries for solar PV, integration of solar PV projects in the power systems of the G5 Sahel countries.
Africa has massive potential for generating climate-neutral electricity, and by 2050 could become the leading continent for renewable energies worldwide. The nations of Africa must use that opportunity. What that calls for right now is the political will, a close coordination between all stakeholders and partners, and dedicated cooperation, but also the right enabling environment and substantial investment in the energy sector so as to ensure, for example, universal access to climate neutral energy, to promote technical innovation, and to refit old electricity networks to cope with the volatile feed-in of green electricity. And so I'm very pleased to be able to announce that the German Development Ministry is providing 50 million euros in support of the African Green Base Load, components of the Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa. We see it as a good investment because in development cooperation, just as in the fight against climate change and in support of sustainable development, we either solve global problems together or not at all.
I believe that our points and the way we see CEFA here in Copenhagen was quite clear from my opening remarks. So let's just move forward, and therefore I'm happy to announce a Danish contribution to the second phase of CEFA, amounting to $10 million to be dispersed this year. And it comes on top of an earlier contribution this year of $30 million already dispersed. So there we are. And of course, Daniel, we hope that our partnership and CEFA's solid results will convince even more to join.
This is by no means our first interaction, neither with the bank nor with CEFA. We have many ongoing projects with the African Development Bank, and with CEFA. We also participated in the development and the launch of the Off-Grid Energy Facility, Off-Grid Energy Fund, which has been mentioned by previous speakers. So it's great to be here. For those of you who are not that familiar with the Nordic Development Fund, a few words. We are the joint Nordic climate finance facility owned by the 5 Nordic countries. And we've been in business for 30 years. And for the last 10 years, we have been a 100% climate finance fund. So for us and for everyone, I think 2020 has been an extraordinary year. If I turn to NDF, we have focused during the year on a very interactive and inclusive dialogue with our board and the member states to revise the strategy of NDF. And we're very happy that the member states also approved a capital increase to the fund of 350 million euro, which will then enable us to continue to support and fight climate change in our countries of operations, which are mainly low-income countries, and with a very strong focus on sub-Saharan Africa. The strategy that will guide us rolls out 3 so-called strategic pathways. I will mention briefly. It's the early stage, it's the catalytic finance, and it's the Nordic leadership. And I think for CEFA, we are able to walk on the 3 pathways at the same time, or at once, in parallel at least. So very, very happy to be part of this, and also not just to be part of the CEFA directly. As I mentioned, we are already partners in the Facility for Energy Inclusion, the Off-Grid Energy Fund, and we do hope and we do anticipate